don't know about you, but I am in love with vocabulary. Doesn't matter the topic, doesn't matter the people, doesn't matter the subject matter. I love vocabulary. This time, it's time to talk about cryptocurrency. Greetings, everybody. I'm Mike Wilkerson, one of your hosts.
And I'm Grady Roy.
I'm Tarek Sarmati.
And I'm his brother, Yasin Zarmani.
And today we've got the foursome round-robin information load of two guys talking crypto. Everybody, welcome. The focus here today, guys, is an article that I found recently that, again, my my former sign language interpreter roots shine brightly inside of this article because it focuses on everything cryptocurrency lingo. Let me bring it open here. Do you guys have favorite words that are used inside of crypto that we need to make sure we outline as we dig up this article?
Really popular word hodl. I like that a lot. Hold on for dear life. It's kind of like diamond hands, another term. You know, we're not trying to sell your stock.
Yeah.
Because we want to prevent anyone from selling during FUD or fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You know, when people are in the community trying to get you to sell, to dump down the coin's price, you know, to either buy it themselves for cheap or to, I guess, get their substitute good coin to be bought. What's the other ones?
Yeah, hodl's kind of like the opposite to FUD.
Yeah, that's
Right.
something else that I really love about something else that I really love about what happens inside of cryptocurrency lingo is that you'll always have something that's a yin and yang. It's very satisfying because there's always something more to talk about something, regardless of what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if someone's hodling, or hodling exists as a term in the universe, it has to be something like anti-hodl, or like, I guess, FUD in a way.
So you have a spectrum of the ideas, you know?
Yeah, another one that's come up here inside of this article, and again, we'll have links to this article, but then a whole bunch of other things that we'll talk about inside this episode, inside the description of this video. You can find it there. You can also find it over at our website at twoguystalkingcrypto.com. Blockchain, Yasin, I love it when you talk about blockchain. Why don't we quickly talk about what the blockchain is?
I would love to. So the main thing is that I see a lot of people using imagery and sort of analogies to explain what the blockchain is that aren't very useful or helpful to anybody other than those that already have a deep knowledge of blockchain technology. Now, what you need to understand is that the fundamentals to cryptocurrencies in general is the blockchain. Now, what is the blockchain? It's based off of chaining blocks together. Blocks being just segmented ledgers that have a cycle, pretty much, based off of some sort of time scale that you decide, produces a ledger of transactions. Now, those transactions need to be contiguous as you go into the future. So what you do is you have at the end of the ledger a pointer to the address of the next ledger inside of the chain. And if you have a genesis block, the first block that's been, quote unquote, mined, you add on to that ad infinitum, as long as there are people that are supporting and running the open source code to add to the blockchain network.
Yeah, and there's a piece of what you're talking about that is really endearing to me, especially as a former sign language interpreter, because when you say the words blockchain, it instantly provides this context, and in particular inside of interpreter brain, it's literally the makeup of two words, which is block and chain, and the word chain has really nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, because as you reference inside of your description, it's the ledger. It's not so much that there is a chain that's involved. It's the actual ledger of the transactions that are going on. And I love that context. Eventually, when we start doing more of these love letters to vocabulary, we'll start digging into how this would be signed in sign language so people can get the context of how the signs traditionally are based on what are actual words. So like block, chain, yes, but that's not what it means. And so the sign language for blockchain based on your description recently would probably be like, if this is book, you'd use L's and go blockchain because it's the ledger, right?
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, it's sort of like the idea is that in ancient times, for example, in Sumeria or something like that, we had people that would want to make a transaction, but you wanted to make sure that everybody knew whose property was whose. So you would say, okay, person A transacted with person B 5 pounds of wheat for 1 horse, right? And the ledgers, sort of these third party that's trusted, would record that to make sure that in the future, if somebody wanted to argue who owned whose horse, there would be a document to refer back to. And so with blockchains, what happens is we say, okay, we'll just have a network make a new ledger for all the transactions that happened in the last 5 minutes. And at the end of the ledger, we'll have an address that points to the next installment or next issue of the ledger with new transactions in it for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, and again, the description that you've given there provides another context for, in this case, what is sign language, where it's actually sequential record is what you're actually describing. And so sequential record is how you would sign blockchain, essentially. So again, I love vocabulary and I love picking it apart, and I'm so appreciative to my roots inside of interpreting because it helps me pluck apart when people are talking to try and get the context of what I'm learning. And I hope that shines through inside of this video instead of confusing anybody. That's great. Let's jump to this next word here inside of the article. And again, we're going to have links to all of these articles inside of our the description down below, but then also over to our website over at twoguystalkingcrypto.com. The next word we got is fiat. Tarek, did you want to jump into what fiat is for us?
Yeah, fiat is typically a term to usually discuss like monetary currencies that aren't based on like anything other than usually governmental force. I mean, or anything that might be like, owned by a central organization in general. So it's not like, so people usually use their fiat almost as if like fake or not a hard currency. What we consider a hard currency, other than like, I guess, crypto, which is a new thing, it used to be gold and silver, as in its value is itself. The thing is with like paper currencies, then where you live, it's not necessarily the paper is worth $1. Actually, usually it's a lot less than what the paper is worth. It's the money that the value was told upon you by usually a third party organization or such.
That's very interesting. One of our other episodes, Grady, we had talked about altcoins inside of one of our other episodes. Again, we'll have the links to that episode down below in the links. Otherwise, you can find it inside of all the library of Two Guys Talking Crypto over at YouTube. We've talked about altcoins. You want to talk about altcoin real quick?
Sure. Do you have a specific question?
Oh no, just in general. If somebody were to walk up to you and walk up and say altcoin, what does that actually mean?
When I talk to somebody about it, I try to keep it simplistic, so I'll give that answer here.
Go for it.
But if somebody asks, what altcoins, I'll say anything that's not Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, things that have been around for a while, aka stable coins. You'll see a lot of these popping up, like for instance, Shiba Inu had a little, quite a popularity several months back and things like that. So anything that's not the popular stable coins can be considered an altcoin. And it don't get me wrong, it can go deeper than that, but a generalized definition, that's what I'll tell to a lot of people who are asking, just for the sake.
Like the evergreen definition, the article is kind of saying anything that's not Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is the biggest. So hypothetically, let's say Ethereum is the biggest, or other currencies, then I guess you can say anything that's not that. So whatever's not the most popular, it would be technically an altcoin, when we're evergreen definition. But currently, it's just everything that's not the first cryptocurrency that is Bitcoin.
Right.
Now, did you have something else?
Yeah, I was going to ask, would you say that shitcoin is synonymous with altcoins, typically in the mind of people that are, Bitcoin maximalists? It
depends. It depends. If they're an OG, in this whole world, yeah, I would say that, they call it an altcoin would be a shitcoin to a lot of quote unquote purists, but it depends who you talk to, I think. I think a lot of the younger generation people coming in, I think they're very interested in altcoins because the thinking for a lot of these people is, I can't afford Bitcoin, right? So let me buy something I can afford. And they think that if I can buy, 100,000 of this shitcoin, that's cool, as opposed to putting $10 into Bitcoin, which would be equal value. But somewhere in their head, they think their $10 in one place is better than another place, just on the top layer of value. Now, the potential of growth with Bitcoin as opposed to these shitcoins is a huge difference. We know that, but just on the surface, a lot of people want to get more for their money with these shitcoins. So I honestly think it depends who you talk to. Some of the older guys would say yes, they're all about stable coins, but I think a lot of the younger generation, they really like the idea of Shiba Inu and some of these things what was it, Aqua Goat, and these crazy coins that just had a quick little bubble of popularity.
Squid Game coin. Ooh. But yeah, I think the term shitcoin is typically it's a general negative term to any coin that people, when they're talking something to shitcoin, they say it's like as if it's objectively bad. It's the worst. You should know this. I mean, of course that's subjective. Meme coins are kind of like that, usually a bit more positive, as in they're saying they're more or less kind of just hype coins. They're just based off a joke. They're not really adding or doing anything new, or what the thing they're doing new is kind of a fad. It's not a real thing. No one's going to actually use this. So another way to sometimes slander a coin, or maybe praise it too, like it's a cultural phenomenon kind of thing.
Yeah, that's all very interesting. The next word that we've got here is exchange. Who would like to chime in on exchange?
Well, I mean, I can just jump in. I resort to how I explain to newcomers and people, but I tell them, if you're familiar with the stock exchange or have any kind of idea of how the stock exchange works on some level, it's something like that for coins. And I kind of leave it vague like that because, I am not an exchange maestro by any means. I understand them, but it's hard to explain some of these things when they run so deep. So any newcomer coming into it, if you know what a stock exchange is, a coin exchange is very similar in a lot of ways. I won't say it's the same, though.
I think it comes from the definition of an exchange. It's a place where people come to exchange things. A crypto exchange is where you're exchanging cryptocurrencies. Most of the time, we have what you can script between cryptocurrency and other cryptocurrencies, but also a lot of the big ones, you can exchange your fiat or cash for a cryptocurrency. It's essentially a place. And there's different ways of handling exchanges. There's ones that offer liquidity pools. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thing is that there are many different types of exchanges as well. Once you get into the whole idea of just exchanging one cryptocurrency for another, and then also fiat for a cryptocurrency, there's different ways of doing this. The main one that a lot of people are familiar with, such as Binance or the many other different ones, are centralized exchanges, which means that you have a third party, Binance in this example, that handles. Yeah, he's the trusted third party that pretty much will go ahead and make sure that everybody is playing fair. And he's like, okay, I'll just take some of this from you and give it to this person. And pretty much you don't even need to touch the currency itself. You just sort of tell the person that I want the price exposure for this, and I'll exchange it for the price exposure of that, this sort of thing. But then there's decentralized exchanges, which can work on two different mechanisms. One where it's pretty much, you have a book full of all the people that say, hey, I'm going to exchange this currency for this amount of X. So I have Bitcoin and I only want to exchange it at this price for Ethereum. These ones are not as popular these days because it's very difficult to get somebody that wants that exact price for that amount of Bitcoin. The much more popular way of doing this is to enter your currencies into what's known as a liquidity pool. And the liquidity pool pretty much uses an algorithm that will lower the price of one as to the other one if it starts getting sold a lot, and if it gets bought up a lot, it'll raise the price, incentivizing more people to put money into the liquidity pool on the other side of the spectrum.
I love the branches that the word exchange provides for, depending on your knowledge base, depending on your experience inside of cryptocurrencies in general. It's astounding. The next word we've got, guys, is wallet. Yassine, did you want to jump in on wallet real quick?
Yes. So wallets are pretty much just unique identifiers for a person's portion of the cryptocurrency pool. So within Bitcoin, you say this amount of cryptocurrency of the Bitcoin is assigned to this wallet, which usually it comes with a unique ID that is able to be tracked on the blockchain itself. So
like a wallet address, yeah.
It's a wallet address. It's similar to, it's like, we use the example of wallet, but it's very similar to a bank account where, you just have the ID for that checking account. And, if somebody wants to send you money, they don't need to know your name. They don't need to know anything about you. All they need to know is that address to send crypto or to take crypto out of.
Yeah, and the foundational context of what gets talked about here, especially inside of vocabulary, when we talk about a wallet, I mean, that's got a general context for just about anybody that hears the word. And again, what I've found inside of just my 10 weeks inside of cryptocurrencies now, so far is that there are some fundamental meanings that are still there, but then there's this little extra icing that cryptocurrencies add on to your already existing context that instantly transforms it into something else. And I really enjoy that. It parrots perfectly into the next word, which is mining. Now, I love the word mining because, of course, everybody instantly thinks of, okay, so let's go grab a pickaxe and let's go and mine us some crypto coin. Yeehaw! When in reality, when in reality, it's a computer parsing data. It's a sexy concept, and it's a great word to throw to it, but it's not. It has nothing to do with grabbing a pickaxe and chopping away at things.
Yeah, the thing is that with mining, the reason that we associated it with the word mining is because the original founders of cryptocurrency, they thought that was a great analogy for the process of rewarding people that are securing the network. But nowadays, a lot more people have sort of a basic understanding of why network providers get paid services for their services. So it's not necessarily a useful analogy for the modern age. It's just something that's stuck. But pretty much there are systems for rewarding miners, and for Bitcoin, it's proof of work, where you do a complicated algorithm, and once you get the right answer, you have the right to add the next block to the blockchain, and you get some Bitcoin coming back your way as the reward for doing this whole very energy-intensive process.
Well, it depends on the mining method, but yeah. And the reason why they do this is because they want to prevent usually what's called a Sybil attack, where someone makes a whole bunch of accounts. Let's say if there was no energy requirement, a very complicated task to, add a new energy to the ledger, then someone could just make a whole bunch of computers, or someone has like a huge server farm, or like maybe a giant agency or something like that, and then they could essentially then use with their massive amount of numbers of computers, like their farm of it, they could essentially then tell who made what transaction, as in they can kind of force it through. So yeah, Sybil attack is when they own 51% of the network.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And again, mining, I love that context, mostly because I think it's going to be one of the many words inside of cryptocurrencies that evolves. I think the faster that we have very high-end machines that are very expensive turn into something either far more expensive or start to get less expensive, just because that's the way technology works. I think that you're going to see the evolution of not only the machines, but you're going to see the evolution of the vocabulary that describes those machines as well. And it will definitively jump out of the context of mining into something completely different.
Yeah, especially since that I think so mining is typically associated with like Bitcoin or a lot of the main coins, as in like just computing hard algorithms. But now we're seeing a lot more variety in the space of cryptocurrencies of how they do a proof of work or secure the network. I mean,
so yeah,
like a coin like Chia, and what they do is they call it plotting, which essentially it's they write to a hard drive and it plays essentially like kind of bingo and sees if there's a match, and that's how it does its like proof of work. So maybe if that's the biggest coin, we'll call it plotting instead of mining. Or I guess there's also proof of stake and like different kind of thing. So maybe mining would come in different because the techniques we use that's more efficient is like different.
Yassine, did you have something else?
Well, yeah. So the thing is that I've seen a lot more people in daily conversations about cryptocurrencies stray away, at least the people that are OG, they tend to stray away from the word mining, and they tend to replace that with just saying the full phrase, securing the network, right? Because that's mostly all that we're doing, is saying we want to distribute the network across as many people that don't know each other and don't have a way of colluding to compromise the security of transactions. So people tend to just go to that nowadays, but I still see a lot of people using mining or plotting, growing, whatever other sort of terminology they want to associate with ever. The main idea I'm trying to get at is that you should use whatever analogy works best for you for doing this work for securing networks.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think that, again, taking the context of what is existing vocabulary and then generating those seed moments that help you understand what the hell is going on with whatever is being shared is the most vital point that I think I could probably make inside of anything that we share inside of Two Guys Talking Crypto. Grady had a great point inside of this session that it really does always benefit you, regardless of how much you know, to start basic, because the people that don't have a context, when they do have a context, they're far more likely to want to follow along with whatever it is you're saying, rather than instantly diving off the deep end and having zero context, especially for the people that just simply don't have the knowledge or time in country to know anything about crypto. Isn't that right, Grady?
Yeah, I still struggle with explaining to people what the blockchain is. And I think you gave a great example earlier, actually better than anything I've ever given people. It actually made sense. And I think if I was new, I could follow 75 to 80% of it at least, and it makes sense. But I struggle dumbing it down on a very, very like simplistic level to let people understand how simple it really is. But it's hard to explain. It is. So that's why I, when I answer these questions, I say, when I talk to people, this is what I say. Because a lot of people are not tech savvy like the four of us are. They're jumping into a whole new world where they don't know what a video processor is as opposed to a video card or RAM or anything to do with computers in general. So you start to get into some of this stuff that's really complex. If you break it down and you try to make it simple, it's not simple. So, I applaud him. That's a great explanation, honestly, earlier.
Yeah, and again, sequential record instantly provides a completely different connotation than somebody hearing the words blockchain.
I never would have thought of that.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. So for those of you that have come to listen to what is now going to be the first half of this wonderful episode, where it's a love letter to those that are curious about cryptocurrency vocabulary, I hope you enjoyed this and got as much as I did out of it. I'm telling you that I have been podcasting for a long time, and somewhere inside of the pudding that is conjured while I podcast with different people, there is this chemistry set, and I love to sit around and like piddle with my chemistry set and make some more pudding. And I love the flavor of what we've conjured here tonight. It's going to be the first of at least a couple of episodes that will focus not on the vocabulary of cryptocurrencies, but something else that the Zamati brothers and I have talked about, which is when somebody looks at an icon for the word mining and it's referring to crypto, well, you can bet your ass it's a pickaxe. And it doesn't have anything to do with pickaxing. It has everything to do with parsing data. And that's another discussion for another day inside of another episode of Two Guys Talking Crypto. My thanks to everybody. Grady, thank you for your contributions. The Zermati brothers, thank you guys for sitting inside this episode of Two Guys Talking Crypto. Now it's your guys' turn. There's so much in the way of vocabulary that we're going to cover inside of future episodes, but what have we missed here? I need you to take just a moment, jump into the comments down below, put the words that you guys know, and we'll either add them onto the list that we haven't yet found and discovered and are going to talk about, or we'll connect with you and invite you into the discussion here inside of this wonderful group of people to talk more about vocabulary inside of the realm of cryptocurrencies. Until next time, I'm Mike Wilkerson, one of your hosts.
And I'm Grady Roy.
And I'm Tarek Zermati.
And I'm Yassine Zermati.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.